Osiyo! Welcome to Short Story Sketches, where you watch a speed painting while I narrate Reddit stories over the speed painting. This is a time for you to also be painting with me, so go ahead and pull out your pen, your charcoal, your paint, your iPad, whatever. Grab some tea. Caramel apple. And let's go ahead and get into it. And just as a quick warning, guys, this next story involves cancer and remission, so if that's something that you're sensitive to, I just wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up. But let's go ahead and get into the story. Am I the asshole for leaving my party for beating cancer? I, 35 male, am a very private person. I have no social media, and I don't want my wife, 32 female, posting photos of me, although I don't tell her not to, I just don't ask her to post me. Celebrating Father's Day or my birthday, I don't like the attention on me and prefer to keep things low-key whenever I can. So, keeping that in mind, I was diagnosed with an extremely curable type of skin cancer. It was caught very early on, and I never felt scared for my life in any way, shape, or form. I'm an engineer, and I think analytically, and wasn't scared with a diagnosis with a 0.03 fatality rate. Still, I told my wife, of course, and she was terrified. We talked through it, and I told her my doctor was very optimistic and said we'd caught it early on, etc., but none of it seemed to help. I tried. After a while, I told her that we shouldn't tell our kids, 5 female and 7 female. My wife wanted to tell them, but I was adamant about that. I'm not even sure they would understand what we're talking about. Reluctantly, she agreed not to. About a week later, I get a call from my dad asking about my cancer. Turns out my wife posted on Facebook about my cancer that morning. I called her and wasn't happy that she posted my business and is behind the "you didn't say I couldn't post it, just not to tell the kids" excuse. There's no way she would think I wanted that posted online, no matter what I said, so she took it down and time went by. Very quickly I was in remission with my skin cancer and my doctor told me word for word, "We don't like to say you're cured, but you're cured." I told my wife and she was ecstatic. She told me that she was worried all this time, I could tell, and glad that we could put all this behind us. I thought we could put all this behind us too. This weekend, I'm coming home on Friday. I see a lot of cars parked in the street, some in my driveway, and I couldn't think of any birthdays or anniversaries I missed, but went in anyway. It was a party for my remission diagnosis. I was mortified at this. She's never done anything like this, and we've talked about how I would hate a surprise party multiple times. I asked what this is for and said, "I'm sorry, but I didn't know you planned this. I'm just coming back for some files and heading back to work." It was a lie. I gathered up some meaningless files in my office and said, "Thanks to everyone for coming," and then left to go back to my office, messing around on my phone until everyone left. My wife knew I was lying, and we fought that night, and I told her I don't know what's gotten into her, but she knows that I would never want this, and she doesn't get to make a big deal out of something personal that I never wanted to be public in the first place. We've been cold this whole week, and my brother said I'm the asshole since I told him I just pretended to go to work. So, am I the asshole for not wanting to celebrate beating my cancer? This is going to be a pretty simple answer for me, and it's not the asshole. Clearly, your wife was very concerned, very worried about you, and hopefully you took that well, in a positive light. Clearly she cares very, very much about you, and that's very sweet. But what is not sweet is disregarding how you feel about being the center of attention or about surprise parties. Sometimes it's not simply just, "I don't like this." Sometimes it gives people real anxiety to be around a crowd like that. And if you're trying to celebrate that person, the best way to do it is by honoring their wishes. And in this case, I don't think your wife was honoring your wishes. And I think you would agree, which is why you're here asking if you're the asshole. So no, I don't think you're the asshole. And honestly, I think it was kind of clever how you ended up backing out of the party. I think it was a really good way to not cause any drama, to let the people who did come celebrate in peace and with, happiness in their hearts that you're well and safe. And even though your wife knew that you were lying, I think it's good that she let you do what you did without causing a scene or without confronting you as soon as you went to your office. I think she had well intentions, but it's definitely not something that you need to feel bad for. Let's go ahead and go on to the comments. Keithot said, "Not the asshole. Your wife completely disregarded your feelings of personal privacy. She should take down the Facebook post immediately and apologize for ambushing you at the party." OP responded and said, "In her defense, she did take down the Facebook post when I called her without me having to ask her." Keithot replied and said, "That's good, but she still sprung an unwanted party on you. She was genuinely scared for your health and wanted to celebrate her joy that you are now in remission, however dismissed your personal preference for privacy. You didn't yell or make a scene, just made an excuse to go back to work. Your wife feels embarrassed, but that's on her. Not the asshole." Owls and Cardinals says, "Not the asshole. Does your wife even know you? I find her behavior to be really odd and inappropriate. You should not have to command or request her not to post about you. It should come naturally to her, A, already knowing what you'd be okay and not okay with, and B, know to ask if she wants to communicate something about you. It's not giving me great vibes about your wife, to be honest. I cannot tell if she's overdramatic to the point of being a liability and totally irrational, or if she's a bit of an attention hound. Either way, her behavior is not okay, and having a serious talk with her about it is very reasonable. I would guess others find her behavior strange too. There must have been something a bit off for your parents in finding out about your cancer through social media. You need to be able to trust your spouse. In some ways, they should be like an extension of yourself, in that you should be able to trust that they won't do something you know that they... Wow, words. In some ways, they should be like an extension of yourself, in that you should be able to trust that they won't do something you know they know you would not want. Missteps happen, of course, but this is her deciding she wants to handle your medical situation a different way than you want to handle it, which is obviously inappropriate of her. Stiletto Panda replied to that and said it sounds like she wanted the attention for herself and not her husband. Bonus Mom replied to that and said, "Bingo! She wanted attention and didn't give a crap about what he wanted. My 80s parents have declining health. Mom has dementia, and Dad was diagnosed a week ago with slow-growing, curable cancer. Only immediate family knows. No one else's business. Somehow OP's wife made his cancer all about her. What the heck? She would be put on notice that she may not share anything about OP or his kids on any social media. Just astounding. Not the asshole. This certainly must give OP pause to wonder if OP and wife are truly compatible. I know I'm questioning it." Okay Conversation says, "Not the asshole. Has she always had main character syndrome? Cause it seems like she's trying to get attention by using your cancer diagnosis/remission." And OP hasn't replied or responded any more to this, so I would be interested in hearing an update just on what his thoughts are now that he's read everyone's comments, and if he, has talked to his wife at all about like this behavior and if it's something that is common or not. So I'll be on the lookout for the next few days and see if OP does end up giving an update, but let's go ahead and head on to the next story. And for this next story, it does also involve the topic of cancer and a death in the family because of cancer. So if that's something that you are sensitive to, once again, I just wanted to disclose it before we got into the story. Proud Formal 8139 says, "Am I the asshole for not giving my sister my wife's clothes? My wife was a corporate lawyer and mediator. She had some very nice work clothes. She was diagnosed with ovarian cancer and was gone in 2 years. The last 6 months of her life were hell. My sister Sarah didn't do jack for us during that time. My wife never liked her. I don't like her. She's a selfish cow. At my wife's wake, she started asking about my wife's clothes, and I brushed it off. She wanted to pick out a few pieces to remember my wife by, and I ignored her. It's been 6 months, and I've attended my mom's birthday, but I'm still not in the mood to deal with people. Then Sarah comes, asking about my wife's clothes. I told her my wife wanted me to donate them to a woman's shelter that she often helped with. It will help women in need with their own court cases, court appointments, and job interviews. My sister Sarah said my wife was even selfish in death. I asked her what the hell did she mean, and she started going off about how my wife always thought she was better than her, and it's not far that the clothes are going to charity and not to family. I told my sister I would rather see my wife's clothes lit on fire than on her back. My sister started crying and my mom came over to see what was wrong. My mom told me to be easy on my sister because she was taking my wife's death hard. The insanity of that coming out of my mom's mouth made me grab my gift and leave. My mom acts like I had to ruin her birthday by being melodramatic, but I cannot believe their emotional blackmail towards me over freaking clothes that they had no right to. Ah, gosh, OP, I am so sorry. This is a very straightforward answer for me. You are not the asshole. Your sister has no right to anything, to any object, any clothes, she doesn't have a right to talk to you that way. And the entitlement that she feels to be able to speak so harshly to you after your wife died. Like, it's incredible to me how inconsiderate your sister is. Like, it's baffling. I'm so sorry, OP. You were absolutely not the asshole in this. You were totally right to grab your gift and leave. And it's sad that your mom can't seem to grasp how hurtful your sister is being. It's just too bad that she's not as protective of you and your feelings as she is of your sister's. And I'm getting all riled up, so we're just gonna go ahead and go straight to the comments. BamF1701 says, not the asshole. Besides the fact that you're following your wife's wishes, your sister is acting like a vulture. And why is your mother worrying about your sister taking your wife's death hard when you're the one who lost their wife? So no, you're doing nothing wrong. You're still grieving, and your sister's treating you like a thrift store, and your mother is completely ignoring your grief because another family member is better at being dramatic. Blackest Hearted replied to that and said, yeah, that stuck out to me. I can't imagine having the gall to tell a widower to go easy on a scavenger because they're taking the widower's spouse's death hard? Archtyping 101 says, not the asshole. It's your wife. How dare Sarah mention it at the funeral? Entirely selfish and classless and callous to your pain. And then to bring it up again and say that it's to remember your wife by? She doesn't care about your wife and never did. And then to insult your deceased wife by calling her selfish. Your mom is also a problem. Sarah's having a hard time with your wife's death? Really? Not you, the husband? Yeah, I'm sorry, but your sister and your mom suck. You should reevaluate why they're in your life and if they even deserve to be. Vivian1973 said, not the asshole, and you're right, Sarah is 100% a selfish cow. Who would begrudge clothes being given to women in need who were trying to get their lives back on track? Sarah, that's who. And your mom tells you that Sarah is taking your wife's death hard? What? With family like that, who needs enemies, right? I'm sorry you're dealing with this, and hope you have people in your circle who treat you a whole lot better. I'm so sorry for your loss. A deleted comment said, info, alright, I'll bite. What did you expect your sister to do during this time? And OP replied to that saying, I would expect her to have some common sense and not ask in the first place. This is the first time I've even seen her since my wife's funeral. Another user replied to OP and said, I don't think that's an unreasonable expectation, but it seems like your sister's not a terribly reasonable person. 1000% not the asshole. And with that last comment, I think we're just going to wrap up this story and continue on to the next one. CRIP1949 says, am I the asshole for not telling my husband's family that I speak their language? My husband Peter, 29 male, and I, 27 female, have been married for about 3 years. We have one child together, and I was pregnant with our second. I'm Western Canadian while he's from Germany. We lived in Canada for a long time, but because of inflation, moving back to Germany seemed like a better option for us. We bought a nice house in Hanover? Sorry on the pronunciation if I'm wrong, where Peter is from. The day after our flights to Germany, we all visited Peter's family. This was the second time I've seen them, the first was at our wedding. They greeted us and brought us inside of the house, fussing over my son. We had dinner and soon we left the house, wanting to settle into our new home. We visited Peter's family often for the next few months, but I had started to realize that they would sometimes speak about me in German. They would make rude comments on my hair and makeup, question my fashion choices, and overall were just very unkind to me. They also said mean things about my pregnant belly, which I was already insecure about. I ended up talking to my husband about this. I told him I didn't like the way that they were treating me, and I said that I hated how my every choice was judged. He told me that he would talk to his family. The next time we went over to his parents' house, there were no more mean comments. For about 3 months, it was like nothing ever happened. I gave birth to a perfect baby girl that we named Lilith. Peter's family was very upset when they heard the name. If you didn't know, Lilith means ghost or of the night. We didn't pick this name because of its meaning, but because it's a name that every girl in my family's had for many years. My middle name is Lilith, along with my mom's, my grandma's, and even my great-grandma's. For a while, I didn't visit my in-laws. I didn't want to hear them talk about how I shouldn't have named my daughter Lilith. But yesterday, we saw them again. It was my mother-in-law's birthday. As soon as we showed up, things started to go badly. Everybody wanted to hold Lilith, which made my mother-in-law upset because people weren't paying attention to her and made me overwhelmed. I didn't want people holding her. I was going through a pretty bad postpartum depression, and it was still pretty early to see people. I let people look at her, but declined when anyone asked to hold her. During dinner, I heard my sister-in-law talking to my mother-in-law in German. I heard her complaining about how she couldn't hold my baby. My sister-in-law even had the audacity to call me, and I quote, a fat, ugly, hokey addict. I turned to my sister-in-law and mother-in-law and told them off in German. I basically said that I've always known what they've said about me, but calling me names was the last straw. I also mentioned how I've known German for almost my whole life. The table instantly blew up. People were yelling at me because apparently this was all my fault. I left with Peter and we haven't talked to them since. So, am I the asshole? No, you are not the asshole. That is so crazy. That is so crazy that the moment they were caught, they were like, wait a minute, this is all your fault. Like, how stupid is that? Oh my gosh, I am so worked up over this. This is ridiculous. Like, I can't believe that they would say those things about you. And then whenever they were caught, instead of being embarrassed and saying, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. I don't know what came over me. I should not have said those things. No. Instead, they're going to double down and they're going to get really mean about it. They're somehow trying to put the blame onto you because you've understood them this whole time. Therefore, it's your fault that we hurt your feelings because, you weren't supposed to understand. Oh my god, this is so stupid. Okay, we better get on to the comments. Astro17 says, not the asshole. Assholes are never wrong. They remain assholes by refusing to ever take ownership of their own words or actions, so they never have to change. This can be as judgmental and insulting as they want because they're right, and anyone who challenges them must be at fault. So of course it's your fault that they were insulting you. They couldn't possibly have been in the wrong. Sorry you married into a family of assholes. Yasmin Yield replied to that and said, imagine being angry that someone caught you for your BS and then have the audacity to be angry? Some things are just so unbelievable. Another person replied and said they're blaming OP for their embarrassment. If they had empathy or grace, they would blame themselves. Watching Telly Now says, and you're living in Germany? Do they really think that you wouldn't learn the language of the country where you live? They've been extremely rude to you and about you. You're definitely not the asshole. I think your husband needed to grow a shiny spine as soon as they started and should have told them off instantly, so he is a bit of an ass, or at the very least a total wuss. Watching Telly Now does kind of have a point. I am interested in seeing how the husband handles this situation because it really does sound like the last time this happened, he did handle it. He talked to his family, told them, hey, you need to cut it out, and they did actually stop for a while. But yeah, I'd be interested in knowing how he responded to this situation because I just can't even imagine being married to someone who wouldn't take care of this, for me. Like, if my partner's family treated me like this, I would expect my partner to defend me and talk to his family on my behalf because it's his responsibility. So I would be interested in hearing more about the husband and what he ended up doing afterwards and maybe an update. It looks like that's it for this post, but I'll be on the lookout for an update because I'm really interested in hearing more about this. Thank you so much for watching. I genuinely appreciate it whenever you spend time with me. I had a really hard time with this castle. It was a lot of fun, and I'm sure, as you saw, that it was actually designed by Steffany Rodriguez, who was my mentor for the spring mentorship that I did with women in animation. I think in past videos I've talked a little bit about working on it, and she gave me permission to be able to post the screen recording on my channel. And first off, I just wanted to say thank you, Steffany, because you have taught me so much. You taught me all about the pipeline in animation, what to expect, and you also just made me a better artist in general, so thank you for that. I'm sure you guys noticed that there was kind of a big chunk missing of the speed paint, and that's because I worked on it on my laptop too, and anytime I was on my laptop, I forgot to screen record, so my bad. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!